called To Kill a Love Song. My church is America in the format of a symphony. Each measure and stanza wills the world into poetry, a melting pot, not fraught by the barriers we build to keep bridges from rising, where the only thing we have in common is God. Poetry is a church that diffuses its uses through understanding abuses, but it loses its power when its only avenue is finding cadence and hateful things. If there's no love in the words she sings, she becomes an ethnic religion, passed from victim to paper to tomb. There's no room for globalizing, and if we only ever gaze inward, away from the world we're inheriting. My dad says no poetry is easy, but positive poetry is hard. It's a dark world we're looking out to, but not all of its skin is scarred. To write positive poetry is to believe one thing is understood. We are all blessed with the capacity to love, to do good, and evil is popular, but compassion withstood. Positive poetry is faith in humanity. My God is poetry in more forms than Christianity. Baptist or Methodist, the divisions are Methodists, call him Yahweh or Vishnu, Allah, Buddha too, regardless of their name or many different faiths. If you have poetry and love, it all goes to the same place. The universe hears when you love despite the labor, just as Jesus spun stanzas in the future's favor, that in spite of perceived different rhythms, you should listen to your neighbor, to care about his name, that prisoners have personhood and traitors all the same. Happy poetry is hard, but how we think is the real issue. A poem may not save the world, but the one it does will miss you if you never try. I know it by the way my mama answers Bruno Mars songs like phone calls. It's long distance, in fact, it's beyond the grave. She's being wrung by someone from the wrong side of town, the dead gone side of town. Can't help but smile when I found that somehow Mr. Mars has become a 5'4" medium. Old school words have made my grandma an old school ghostly rotary. Without them, I may never know her ghost is watching me on Phantom Facebook right now, spamming, y'all see my grandbaby, Yvonne and Gentry and millions of mothers that came before she. Their memory is poetry. Sisters and brothers in arms and in family. Happy poetry is hard, but how we think is the real issue. A poem may not save the world, but the one it does will miss you. Happy poetry is hard, but this blood has come too far. From Clarksville to the Congo, to my body, to some distant star, for me to not be grateful for the beat that got us where we are, to every writer that made beauty with the devil's gilded fiddle, to every lover that put joy into their music just a little. My church is the kind of beat my grandmother's dreamed, a sermon made of poetry transporting to forgotten memories, and the lyrics of the song speak of forgiving even enemies, and the dying town has children who don't know but to smile, so the poem we're inheriting seems perfect to a child, and our future will be poetry, with a major key that plays on, because the devil fights the vision, but can't kill a love song.